It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey everybody, welcome in. My name is Chris, and this is a show with a great bountiful harvest for you. Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today to this little podcast that could. And this is it. It's a slightly melancholy time of year. Exciting, because for me, it's the beginning of writing the Harris Football Player Profile Almanac, in which I will be writing a bunch of words about basically every fantasy relevant player for 2026, but also melancholy because, well, if you're not in the yacht club, if you're not a subscriber, this will be the last time you hear from me for like 7 weeks. It is our traditional break time here on the main show, mostly because I cannot seriously do 7 summer weeks of will Blake Corum further eat into Kyren Williams' touches talk.
Why would they tell us that?
They would not, indeed. Spending any time getting dogmatic about work share or quality of situation. It's just not a good use of anyone's time this far out. So this is the final Thursday show. That's been tradition around here for years and years and years. We've made it through the playoffs, through NFL free agency, through the entire pre-draft and post-draft process. And now, the wheel turns. It's almanac time. I'm excited to start writing profiles. You can pre-order that almanac right now, so you don't have to think about it anymore. It is live right now at harrisfootball.com. Of course, we do still have today's show to get to. Excited to talk wide receivers for a good long while, and then quarterbacks for a good shorter while. We'll get that pretty quickly here in just a moment. Let me mention, I am putting a book out this summer. It's the first time I'm putting a book out since 2018. 8 years since the last time I published a novel. I believe it'll be out in August. It's the first time I'm ever putting a book out myself. I am the publisher. If you didn't hear the grand unveiling of my publishing company's name a few weeks ago, well, just ask yourself, what's the word that Harris has had the most trouble saying over the past decade or so? And if you're a long-timer, you'll remember. Cumulative, that's what I want to say. That's right. My publishing company is called The Cumulative Press. I do a much better job of saying it these days, but you can hear me. I gotta slow down. Oh, I'm about to say the word. I gotta figure out how to say it. Hold on, hold on, brain. Hold on, I gotta figure it out. But it is meant as a nod to all of you because, by golly, it is the Cumulative Press. When we get back here in July, you'll definitely be hearing more about this book. The book is called Pound Foolish. It's about the NFL, and it's also a murder mystery and a serial killer book in which a player on the team may be the killer. I'm very excited for you to get to read it. And I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm pretty sure this summer I'm going to go on a little bit of a tour. Partly to read something from the new book, and also just partly because I thought it would be fun to do some August meetups out there in places where I've never done a meetup before. And if you would like to help set up a reading and a meeting in your city, email me, heyharris@harrisfootball.com. If you've already emailed me, I've seen it. I appreciate it. I've gotten a bunch of people writing in from disparate places. I've kind of got to put it all together eventually here in the next few weeks. I'll write back to everybody who's written me in. And we'll I'm probably going to make it like over the course of a week, maybe somewhat regional, just to, not have to fly 3,000 miles many times. But where I go will be dependent on who is out there offering to help, and find a place to do it. I'm assuming maybe like a bar on a weekday evening before things get busy, or maybe a weekend. I guess it could be a bookstore too. We're going to want to mingle and meet everybody and hang out afterwards and talk football. But that could work as well. Anyway, hit me up if you'd like to participate. Also, this is very specific, but one last thing. If you are in Los Angeles, if you're going to be here this summer, so am I. And the Possum softball team is, in fact, continuing to play. If you're pretty good at softball, we could use a few more players. We've had some attrition and also just some people who can't play this summer. Now, we've advanced beyond a few years ago when I first assembled the team by mentioning it to listeners. We're pretty good, so you should probably have played before, have a glove, have some cleats, that kind of thing. But if you don't have to be amazing, but we'd love to have you. If you want to come out to Burbank on Tuesday nights and be a yacht possum, also hit me up, Hey Harris, at harrisfootball.com. It's a really fun group. We would love to have you.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, it's Cousin Josh again. If you haven't listened to last week's show, you really should. Josh interrogated my running back and tight end ranks. And today, it'll be receivers and quarterbacks. Not going to have a full conversation about everybody. Of course we can't. But, eventually we will get to everybody, and certainly the Almanac will get to everybody. But Josh certainly is going to pick out some pressure points. This is kind of the very beginning of the process of even trying to figure out who the pressure points are going to be this year and what we think of these players. It's a long process of getting ready for 2026, and this kind of is the beginning. I think it's going to be really fun. I thank you again so much for listening today. We are sponsored today by Fume. If you or someone you love is trying to quit smoking or vaping, this one's for you. Fume is a flavored air device, simple, natural, kind of genius. No nicotine, no batteries, no vapor at all. Just kind of a weighted, twisty, fidget-friendly tool that gives you something better to reach for when cravings show up. We actually have a friend, Frank, on the Yacht Possum softball team who's been using Fume. I asked him about it. He said it's a great way to not give into a craving, to interrupt the old pattern of reaching for the vape. Tastes good. I've tasted it. The flavors, they're subtle. They're nice and lighter than vaping, and it is just way healthier if you or someone you love is trying to quit smoking or vaping. You know that the resolutions on day 1 are really easy. The cravings on day 5 are hard. Fume really helps with kind of that fidgety feeling of a craving. It's very satisfying to hold and to twist. Fume has already helped 700,000 people develop better habits. If you or someone you love wants to quit vaping or smoking, go to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com. And use the code Harris. You'll get a free gift when you try the Journey Pack. Get healthier. Give it a try. Tryfume.com. tryfum.com. Use that code Harris.
Today's guest.
Take me home tonight. I don't want to sit at tiny tables when my jeans are tight. Take me home tonight. Listen, honey, just like Jordan sang, be my ugly baby.
Be his ugly baby. Do it. Be his ugly baby for the final time of the spring. It's Cousin Josh joining the show. Finding him on Instagram is something you should do. He doesn't post that much on Instagram. Every so often, though. Did you post recently from your trip to upstate New York?
I may have posted some cocktails. I feel like these days you might get me when I'm out and about in Manhattan or Brooklyn and I'm just having the time of my life in the greatest city in the world. But yeah, I don't post so many. I'm more of a story guy these days, unless it's something truly memorable. But yeah, it's great to be here.
When you're out in this town having some New York City tap water?
It's funny you say that, Chris. I don't know. We usually wait until season to do stories. I don't know. Do you want a quick story about tap water here?
I think it's obvious that I do.
So going back maybe 3-4 months ago, George's like, I really feel like we drink so much tap water. We should get one of those things to put on the faucet. So we got one of these filtered things we put on the faucet, and in 8 days, Chris, it turned brown. And I'm like, huh. So I've been drinking this straight out of the faucet with nothing on it. So I've probably changed the filter. And that it's scary. I changed it twice in 3 weeks, and now I'm I can't even imagine the amount of stuff I've drank. But you know what? Hopefully it's really nutritious minerals, I guess, from this dangerous canal I live on.
So you're telling me that we were lied to? That New York had
I don't know. I'm gonna chalk. it's been good for 2 months now, so I'm gonna chalk it up for just this first month. We're just, getting the rhythm of this faucet, and just
Getting the
a
rhythm.
bit. Chris, I should have taken a picture and sent it to you. I didn't even think about it because we hadn't been doing the podcast. And George's like, "Can you change this?" I'm like, "I put one on like 7 days ago. That's really scary. Like it's supposed to be like 6 to 8 weeks. You keep on there for."
All right, your AI prompt now is Derrick Henry changing your water filter. Let's see that picture. All right. Well, we're here for the rest of the positions. We did a good conversation last week about the running backs and the tight ends, mostly the running backs. And today we're going to do the wide receivers and the quarterbacks, mostly the wide receivers. Why is that, Josh?
Why are we doing the receivers?
No.
Is this a PPR joke?
No.
Oh.
Mostly why not quarterbacks?
Oh yeah, because you just wait and take one. I won a title last year taking Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. So.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Superflex, which we'll nod to a little bit. I love that there are a few more people out there playing Superflex, so it matters more for that, clearly, but most people don't. So we'll talk quarterbacks later. But we're going to start out with wide receivers. I got good feedback on the running back conversation. The good feedback was from Andy Behrens.
Oh, really?
Hey, before I hit the button on Monday for the Yacht Club show, we did a little more ranks talk on Monday, a little running back talk. He's like, "Hey, Josh did a good job." I was like, "Whoa, don't tell him that." Whoa, hey, I don't need to be, because you're gonna see Andy Behrens tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm excited. We got the rookie draft. Really, really pumped to see Andy. I don't usually get a ton of compliments from Andy, so it's nice. It's
Your arch enemy.
yeah, he and I competing for those the Harris, aka SNL jackets, right? How many times we can be guests on the show? So, but it's nice. I love Andy, so it's good. I would have liked a text or something or an email, but he wants to tell you behind closed doors. That's fine. I'm not gonna complain.
Well, I'm almost guarantee he just heard you say that, so you may get a text.
Cool.
After this. All right. Well, so let's do it. I'm going to turn the show over to you. You've seen the wide receiver ranks. By the time the people are listening to this, they are available to you both in the show notes, of course, but also at harrisfootball.com. We will have PPR ranks, full PPR on the site. However, that's not what we're discussing here. I might, in a moment of weakness, like mention that I have somebody significantly higher or lower in PPR. I got to be honest, Josh.
It doesn't change much.
It doesn't change much. It really. I think the people make a big deal of that stuff. It does not. There's 5 guys it might matter. Otherwise, the good guys catch a lot of balls and the bad guys don't catch a lot. That's. So anyway, you've picked out some players to talk about. You've metabolized these ranks. Let me turn it over to you.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you right off the bat. I think your tiers, at least in that first top 10, are right in line with what I've been seeing. So I'll kick things off. Your 1, 2, 3. This is kind of that super tier. Ja'Marr Chase, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and Puka Nacua. I think that everywhere I've looked, these are your 3. You can kind of scramble it up. Chase has pretty much been 1 everywhere, and I think he will go 1 and deserves to go 1. But this is your top 3.
It's funny because when we did this back in December, and when I was having a conversation with a friend just last week, I was like, I'm going to have JSN 1. I did back when, because we were in the throes of the great season. It's not like the great season ever ended. It was unbelievable. And I just was looking at the numbers in the spread. Not the numbers, the ranks. I was looking at the players, and I was thinking to myself, all right, let's say I'm in the first round and I've really exhausted the running backs. I'm through whatever the first 6 running. Well, I haven't done the blended ranks yet, but am I really going to take JSN over Chase? Am I going to punish Chase for what was obviously beyond his control last year? And he's freaking awesome. And I just decided it's really close. I actually think Puka is 3rd. Puka's awesome too, but I actually think it is Chase and JSN. And if someone said JSN 1, I wouldn't be mad. But I chickened out and I went Chase.
You and I are calibrated on these 3. They're going to be first-round picks in every draft, whether it's standard or PPR. I don't think we need to spend much time. If you get one of these guys, you should be thrilled. So we'll go through your 4 through 9, which is pretty much lockstep as well. There's one person, and I don't want to spoil it, who's also been in the top 10 I've seen, but we'll wait till we get him further down in your list. I'm smiling. I love it. All right, your 4 through 9. Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Malik Nabers. Again, this is kind of, I still look at these guys as wide receiver 1s. The dream, I think, is to get a running back in one of these guys in kind of the first 15 to 18 picks. We haven't done combined yet, but some really good guys here. Look, if you told me at the end of this year Justin Jefferson put together a top three season, be fine. ASBA could see do it. Lamb we know can do it. So these guys, they're all awesome. I will say I wanted to stop and talk about Drake London and Nabers because those are the two guys who I agree are 8 and 9 and pop to me. I look at London and I'm like, I really like the talent. I hate that his QBs are Tua, and we'll see how Penix does as well. But man, I know it's not just targets. I saw him do a what 159 target pace last year. Darnell Mooney moves on. I like the talent. The volume seems like it will be absurd. Do you have any concerns with the quarterback there, or that's kind of why he's at 8 and he's not 4 or 5?
Well, he's not going to be 4 or 5 because he's not as good as the guys who are at 4
He's
or
not
5.
as good as Lamb ASB.
I'm trying to rely on ability. I mean, hey, Amon-Ra, I've like kind of just given in. I kind of still don't like Amon-Ra wasn't that good to own last year. He finished as the wide receiver 3, but was he amazing to own? Didn't he go ice cold?
There was some explosion weeks, if I recall, right?
Yeah. But anyway, we're not talking about him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get freaked out about situation, and I'm not going to get freaked out about my perceived volume. I'm gonna rely on the fact that I see Drake London do a bunch of stuff that is like super elite, and he's become almost like a paradigm when people want to communicate now that he's a non-super fast but super athletic, good-handed, like really nice route runner, big body, that they say, hopefully he works into being a Drake London type. I guess you'd say Nico Collins too. I kind of think Nico Collins plays just a little faster than Drake London, maybe a little deeper, longer deep speed. That might not be the case. But I just, when somebody's doubting answer about a quarterback is about a wide receiver is watch out for the quarterback. I just go, yeah, cool. Let that stuff influence you. That's fine. There are some extreme cases where I go, oh boy, could be real rough. But if you want to like add up situational nonsense beforehand, couldn't you say, well, now it's Kevin Stefanski and I trust him offensively much more. And I'm just going to go with the good players. I will also say that wide receiver is an absolute poop show. I mean, the theme of this conversation has to be what an absolute poop show wide receiver is. To be spending multiple elite fantasy picks in the year of our Lord 2026 on the tippity top wide receivers, I think is a huge strategical error, because I can't really tell you for sure that Drake London is a million times better than Emeka Egbuka. We'll see by the end of the year. I just picked 2 names at random. Like, I get to number 4 in this list and I go, I guess it's Amon-Ra. And he's really good, but, I can't remember the number, but I just remember in the second half of last year, Amon-Ra was like, killed people in the first half of last year. He had a 3 touchdown game early in the year. It killed people. And then he went through that middle of the season where he was doing 2 for 42. And didn't he have a 0 for 0?
He did. Yeah.
So, I love him. Going to take him 4. Going to rank him 4. Probably not going to own him, though, because I'm going to have some running backs ahead of him. I think wide receiver is an absolute mess. It's flatter than it's ever been. There's a couple of places where it feels like you go, okay, that maybe I would call that a tier, but I don't really think it's a tier as much as it is like a palace of sick. Like, it's disgusting. It's disgusting to put, I don't know, Malik Nabers 9. That's disgusting to me. Not that he's not really good, but I have no idea about his knee. I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. That turned into sorry. That wasn't really a Drake London conversation.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's great because I was going to ask you about that with Nabers. And as I kind of walk through your rankings, and I do this as I'm kind of watching NBA, and some of these games have been shut off, so I get to spend more time on it. But Malik Nabers, I'm looking at it and I'm like, nah, 9 seems high. But then I go, his ability, if you watch that first year as a rookie, was just absurd. And sure, he's hurt. He missed, after 4 or 5 games, he was out for the year. I'm going in expecting him to be fully recovered. He'd be my 9 as well. Like, I would have him right there. But exactly what you said. Do I feel confident that he's going to outscore Ibuka? Do I feel like I can't even feel with certainty that he's going to, beat out Tet McMillan and some of these guys? Like, yeah, I feel a lot better about taking a couple of running backs. And I think maybe spend 3, 4, 5, 6 is what I kind of did last year. And you found guys like George Pickens, which we'll get to those guys later. Um, it is a little
Yeah.
scary, but yeah, I
I
shift to more
mean,
running backs. That's why I'm curious what your combined ranks are going to be.
and I should clarify what I'm saying. When I say that wide receiver is a poop show, as much as it's ever been, and it has been, let's face it, it has been, but it gets more so every year. It's not that it's bad. It's that you have so many good options,
Yep.
but all of them are kind of always mostly gonna do 5 for 67 every week. And if they score, and the question is if they score a touchdown, and you just go the end result, the difference, like it winds up being such a small margin between players who look like they finished real differently. If you get a average like a fantasy point a week different than someone else, you could be 15 spots in the list behind him or ahead of him, which is, it's crazy. So the production is just way more spread out than it's ever been, and it's all the more reason if you're picking in the middle to the late part of the first round, yes, you want one of those 3 receivers. I would put them above the others. I'm not positive, but I feel, people might go JSN's 1-year wonder. It was an awfully good year. And then otherwise, I'm with you. I'm just going to go, cool. You guys all just gorge yourself in rounds 2 and 3 on very good receivers. And I'm not going to be mad at those picks. I'm just not going to think that the guys I get in rounds 4 and 5 are any different.
Yeah, I'd love to do a combined ranking talk, but for another time. All right, I'll walk you through 10 through 20. I like a lot of these guys as wide receiver twos. We'll talk about them. A.J. Brown is your 10, Chris Olave, DeVonta Smith, Tee Higgins, Terry McLaurin. I've got to ask you about that. It popped. 15, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Devontae Adams, Jamison Williams, Tedero McMillan, and then Rashee Rice. So there's a couple of guys I wanted to touch on. Obviously, A.J. Brown, pending new team. We don't need to get into that now. It's funny. I saw Chris Olave and I was like, wow, I know he was absurd last year. It's funny. I liked him last year when we used to joke and say feels a lot better in round 5 or 6 than when you used to have to take him in 3. And exactly what you just said is this ranking where it's everywhere, Chris, is you're going to get back to the people taking Chris Olave at 26 and 27. And I'm like, ugh, like that's right.
And can we, like he had an unbelievable season. Wow. Incredible. I think wide receiver 6, what a player. And then he had 3 games over 100 yards receiving. 1,109 is 1,109 in your mind when you're thinking about the entity that is fantasy football. Should 1,109 turn out to be the wide receiver 6?
No, like again, it's exactly what you said.
That's supposed to be this wide receiver 17. Nice, that's a cute season you just did there, right?
It's so, like you said before, it is so flat where 10 to 15 points is the difference between being wide receiver 5 and 18, and it's again, this is the point where we don't have to talk running backs now, but like, give me Travis Etienne, like those types of players, I would just feel like are so much more valuable than spending it on these, but we'll talk more about that in the summer. I did want to ask you, the Terry McLaurin one, that's going to probably be a flag player because it caught my eye. And again, I know a lot of that had to do with last year's holdout, right? Brutal season, 600 yards. It took him really a long time to get ramped up. Jaden Daniels wasn't fine. He's going to be 31 in September, kind of more in like the mid-20s everywhere else. You're more forgiving. Thoughts?
I'm soft. Well, I'm soft on McLaurin. Obviously, I'm incredibly virile otherwise, but on McLaurin, I'm soft. Yeah, it was a wasted season. I just am not going to change my opinion. And I remember him looking awesome when he first came back. Well, actually, no. When he first came back, he immediately got hurt again. Right, I think he missed a month. He played 1 game. It was against the Chiefs, I think, if I remember correctly, and scored a touchdown. But it wasn't special. And then by the time he was back in December or whatever, no Jaden Daniels. The first game back, he went crazy. I can't remember who it was against, but I remember, and we were like, "Oh my God, he's back!" And then the rest of the year, he didn't do anything. again, am I going to throw down the gauntlet and say you're totally deranged? There's no derangement in these, anything between 14 and 24. But what I'm doing as I'm investigating is, who would I take next? Okay, there's the pool of guys. Who would I take next? And I don't have anybody I would take next. I don't think it would be stupid for you to say, you know what, I'm going to take the chance that Pickens is going to do that again. I just saw it. I got to go back too far for McLaurin. Like, I don't think you'd be dumb. But, like, I think if I'm on the clock, knowing that what's goes on in the space between Pickens' ears, I think I just might be like, I don't want to borrow that problem. And, Zay Flowers, for as good a year as it seemed like he didn't really, wasn't a massive fantasy season. And, yeah, anyway, that's the bottom line. Is I got to the point where I don't look at anybody else's ranks, and I guess I'm trusting.
Fair. We don't need to talk about Pickens. We always talk about him during the season, you and I. I am curious if he reports to camp on time and if this ranking of 15 drops. I ask you, Adams, and it's not that you're right there as well. Everyone's kind of 17 and 18, Devontae Adams. I won't be doing it. I'm an ageist. I would rather be, and I didn't do it last year because I'm like, oh man, the Stafford stuff is crazy. I will say this. When he is on the field every single week, we will probably rate him what? Wide receiver 1, top 10 to 12. I know that the ranking of 17 definitely bakes in some of the age. He'll be 34 in December. But I mean,
it bakes in the idea of someone, historically, people who are so touchdown dependent. He didn't get to 800 yards receiving.
I know. I looked.
Yeah, somebody who's that touchdown dependent, I just go, it's got to bake in the ride not being good, because there are going to be weeks. If it stayed, it could change. He still looked like a good route runner, even at his advanced age. So it could change. It doesn't have to be an 800-yard, 14 touchdown season. It could get more normal, and in which case he's too low. But you have to bake in some notion of standard deviation there.
Yeah. I did like seeing you being slightly ahead of the curve on Jameson Williams. I never thought of you as a Jameson Williams guy. It's kind of more in that 22 to 23 range, but I'm with you. The big one, Chris, and this one you're going to love, so I wanted to save a couple of minutes. Rashee Rice, your number 20. I checked 3 different services, number 6, number 8, number 9. I'm with you. I find that absurd, and that's 2 of them were standard. Again, I don't think it's going to make a difference. People are rating him in the top 10 at receiver. I can't do it. Again, we did this last year. The guy's never eclipsed 1,000 yards. I know what he did last year, 571, but it was, a shortened stint. I need to see it first a little before I project some of this stuff. And it just seems like such a reach. I can't do it. Someone wants to do it, and the guy comes out and catches 100 balls, 1,200 yards, whether Mahomes comes back or not. I'll tip my cap. I'm probably in that like 15 to 20 range too. It's just 8 to 10 everywhere, Chris. I thought that to be crazy.
We are sponsored by my friends at Lisa. You've heard me talk about their mattresses. I sleep on a Lisa mattress no matter where I am, every night. I love it. Coming up next week, starting May 12th, it's one of their biggest sales of the year, a Memorial Day sale, 30% off select mattresses. Now, if you are thinking about getting a new mattress, why should you consider Lisa? Just because I like sleeping on my Lisa, it's a good start. I really do think the beds are awesome. But also, it's a personal thing. Lisa gives you 4 months to sleep on your new bed. Really test it out. Make sure you sleep well on it. And if you don't, you can get your money back. They will come pick it up. So there's really nothing to lose but uncomfortable nights and backaches because you were continuing to sleep on a worn-out mattress. In addition, Lisa, just a good company, American-made beds. They're really charitable. They donate thousands of beds to shelters. I'm a believer basically in everything about them. Check out what they've got, leesa.com. Starting May 12th, 30% off select mattresses. Plus, if you use the code Harris, that's another $50 off the top. Leesa.com for 30% off starting May 12th. To get another $50 off, use that code Harris. Okay, we're back with Josh. We have lots more wide receiver names to talk about. And Josh, go ahead and steer the conversation as you will.
Yeah. Anything before you want to touch on Rashee Rice before I move forward into the next group?
You nailed it before the break. Like I'm not looking at ADP, and so I'm surprised to hear that. Obviously, because it's not where I rank him. I think he's. I think. Well, Andy and I had kind of a long conversation about the Chiefs' offense on the Yacht Club show on Monday, in which Andy, just dead on. I love the way he said it. It's like you're living in some idealized version of the Chiefs' offense from 2023 or whatever, because there's no world in which, it was okay in September, and then after that it was kind of actively bad. And I guess you could argue part of it was that Rice got hurt, but I think he's a potential touchdown weapon, and there is potential kind of for volume, but boy, that offense is a lot of 2-yard crosses to Rashee Rice. And I think if anybody else was throwing the ball, I think people would kind of be critical of how they use him.
Yeah. I have a hunch that he's going to be on some sorts of lists for you and I, so we could probably talk more about him if that's where he's going to be come summertime. All right, you're 21 through 30. Your boy, Chris Harris fave, DJ Moore, 22, Rome Odunze, 23.
I tried to be low on him. I tried.
You did your darndest. 23, Emeka Buka, 24, Luther Burden, Jalen Waddle, Ladd McConkey, we'll get to him, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, Alec Pierce. I know you're a huge fan of him. We talked about him a ton in the fall and the winter, and then Cortland Sutton. Yeah, it's funny. I think you're kind of right where everyone is on DJ Moore. You might be a little bit higher. You're a little bit higher.
Okay.
But he's kind of in that area. He's got a new lease on life. We'll see.
There's a stylistic potential for it to work because, whereas Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, I guess an offense that wants a little more precision out of a player. And I got to be honest, I would not have called DJ Moore a wild improviser. Mm-hmm. But it's obvious that Ben Johnson was very frustrated with DJ Moore, at no more so than on that last play of the playoff game where, they're driving, they're potentially going to win that game, and Moore and Williams clearly not on the same page on that last throw. So the logic is maybe with Josh Allen, who is the ultimate runaround guy, maybe there's, I don't know, I still think he's good, but I can admit that I could think about it and maybe go back and watch some more DJ Moore film from this past year and decide why borrow trouble. The question you have to ask yourself when you're at this point, we're now at the point where we've waited, and people have picked over the top 20, and we've got running backs that we like, and we don't feel too much worse about the 21 to 30 or whatever wide receivers. The case I think you're probably making for yourself is okay, who here could take advantage of a bunch of good stuff, and including their own talent, and turn into next year's wide receiver 8, the next year.
Yeah.
And does DJ Moore have that argument? I think he really only has that argument if Josh Allen's ready to finally turn one of his receivers back into Stephon Diggs from a few years ago. And probably you could talk me out of that. So stay tuned.
It's interesting. This is always that middle of the draft now where it's middle of round 4. You're like, all right, man, do I want to grab one of these tight ends? I don't really want to do that. It's like, oh, man, there's some QBs. I don't want to do that. And you look at this receiver group and you're like, all right. And people have that. This is kind of that, all right, do I want David Montgomery? Do I want DJ Moore? You're like, oh, and you start to look at this list.
I feel like that decision gets made so much easier for me if in the first 3 rounds I nailed 2 running backs.
Yeah, you take probably the receiver that you like the most here, right?
You just and the reason you go the reason you feel bad is because you're not really sure that Christian Watson is any better than Cortland Sutton. You realize that you're kind of picking from similar seeming options, but you don't really know how to distinguish between them. You're kind of nominally going, I guess DJ Moore, but I don't really feel strongly about it. So that's a bad feeling because you can definitely miss. You can pick the wrong one, but because you don't have an obvious choice. But I feel better doing that than going, all right, I guess it's Tony Pollard. It could work out. Probably not.
It's interesting to me, if I hadn't looked at anything and you said, hey, Josh, right off the cuff, what do you think Ibuka is listed? I've been like, I don't know, 15 to 18. And It's interesting to see him 23, and I think you're kind of with consensus. I've seen him scattered everywhere from like 16 to 25, and I feel like the summer, I'm really curious where he's going to be because there were a couple of weeks in a row where if I'd have paused and said, "Hey, Chris, after these last 2, 3 weeks, what he's doing, where do you think he's going to be next year?" I feel like if I would have just paused, you'd have been like, "Oh, people are going to go crazy about him. He's going to be like number 13 or 14." And everyone's kind of where you are for the most part. I don't know. I feel like there was this time where if I would have asked you McMillan or Ibuka, who do you think is going to be ranked higher? And we were at midseason. I think more people probably would have said Ibuka the following year than
Yeah.
McMillan.
Because
Yeah.
he was wide receiver 3, but then
Yep.
everybody who owned him in the second half of last year lost their fantasy leagues. That does matter. And, he was an absolute disaster in the
Yep,
second half of
nightmare.
the year. And as was Baker Mayfield. And, you know, I had a thought of like, okay, Chris Godwin is still on that team, and that's annoying and can get in the way as well. It might not, but it might. And I did a film futures on Ibuka and came away thinking, maybe he was hurt. I definitely saw him like he was pissed. He knew he was pressing. He knew he was underperforming and the team was losing, and he was trying, extra hard, and he was really running good routes, and like you could see him. I liked that part of it, but the production just goes away completely, and he's not the guy who's just who gets the Mike Evans role. Sorry, there isn't one, or it's Jalen McMillan. It's not those two guys, so it's hard to say. It's hard to be like both feet in with Ibuka because of how the last half of the season went.
If anyone wants to know, as a refresher, 8 straight weeks with no touchdowns and eclipsed 45 yards once. So if you had him and you were sitting there with your chest puffed out, you probably had a really sad end of the year owning him. Really brutal. Lad McConkey, 26. I mean, again, wild. Someone that people were taking in the second round last year, an incredible route runner, right? You feel like you're in a great place. Herbert's number one guy. And then, you wear off a little bit of that shine with Keenan Allen came in there. It was an up and down season for them. And then you had Quentin Johnson popped a little bit. And now all of a sudden he's end of round 4 probably, or an early round 5 guy. Like, I still like Lad, but I wonder, and you and I always discuss this, like, is it just going to be kind of one of these Wes Welker type guys, really good route runner, and your dream season, if you're playing PPR or just standard, is, like these 90 to 100 catch years, and you said it before, like 11, 50, and 7. Is that a lot of what you're going to get? And he's just like, yeah, really good number 2. Plug him in there when he scores, fine, and if not, you're getting 8, 9 points.
Lad McConkey, probably I got a little peer pressured on him last year. I can't even walk around puffing out my chest saying, told you so. I certainly was more on the no than the yes on Lad McConkey.
I was a
year,
guy, but go on. Yeah.
And I was more on the no, but he wasn't on a bust list. And I think I swallowed a little bit of the Kool-Aid, and it's not that he's bad. It's just that, like, I remember his rookie year, some of those teams he was taking, like, I remember that Saturday Patriots game where he went absolutely freaking crazy on the worst Patriots team of my lifetime. Not my lifetime, of the 21st century, let's say. And I like, ooh, congratulations. A lot of the whole Charger experience got filtered through the offensive line. How many times did we talk about it on the show, just week after week after week? You guys don't understand what this looks like. It's not Herbert's fault. He belongs in this conversation. And if somebody said, no, he's the one at 21 or he's the one at 19 that I want to, if I'm waiting to the 4th round, he's the one I want, I'm not going to get mad at it because these guys are all the same. But he doesn't have as many outs as the really fast guys or the really big guys. It has to work in a particular way. And I mean, it does for Amon-Ra. So who am I to say? We might, in a couple years, think of Lad McConkey, perennial top 10 guy. What's the offense going to be? I think, like, Mike McDaniel is smart enough to know that Lad McConkey's good at a bunch of stuff, and he can, manufacture touches for him and get him against zone. And like, there's a lot of potential for him to rise right back up. But also, how good was the rookie year? You said it. It was 1,107. Like, if that's the ceiling, then this is where he belongs.
I think a lot of people looked at that and it was like, well, he did it on like 107 targets, and imagine what he would do in his rookie. It's just, there was a lot of projecting on it.
Growth. Yeah.
Chris, I absolutely adore this Garrett Wilson rank. I just want to clap it up for you, number 27. I've seen him everywhere from like 16 to 19, and I'm with you. It's been a couple of years now. I can't do it anymore, and I know we don't want to talk about situation, but I can tell you as a New Yorker, that team's a cesspool. It's just, I don't know.
It's one of the cases where you kind of do need to. It's Geno Smith even 1 year older. It's not going to be any good. Let's face it. And Garrett Wilson is much more talented than this rank, and he's much more talented than he's performed so far. But he's also not a spring chicken anymore. He's entering his 5th year in the league, and he's never done better than that mythical 1,107. And 3 times he's done worse than that. So yeah, even to take him at this spot requires belief that is just foundationless. Don't you feel like that's one of the ones where if Garrett Wilson comes out and does 1,410 and someone goes, I did it, I gamed this system, I figured it out, Garrett Wilson in the 4th, baby, don't you just go, yeah, that was a great call, nice job, I don't want any part of it?
Yeah. You know when I would love it? I would love it as my wide receiver 3. And I'd be fine when he has those great games on Monday Night Football where he catches some one-hander in the back of the end zone. You go, dude, that was insane. And they go to replay and they challenge it. And you're like, wow, he caught that. It's great. It's fun. I am not taking him anywhere in the top 20. I find it wild. He won't be on my team. He'll probably be on some sort of list that I talk about. I'll also be out on Christian Watson. Again, it's more of I can't do the guys who are dinged up and play, somewhere between 10 and 14 games or 9, and you just go, oh man, he's got these cramps, and it actually was it wasn't really cramps, it was actually an amoeba, and now he's out 6 weeks. Like, it's this stuff, Chris, where it's just like, I can't do it, dude. Where like you're sitting here and I get
wait, hold on, you're killing me. It was cramps, but it's an amoeba.
Yeah, and then I get a text from someone. It's like, "Hey, man, sorry." And I look at it, and it's one of these. It's the Schefter report. Like, probably gonna have to have surgery. He's down 9 pounds. The amoeba got to him. They think it could be Montezuma's revenge, but we don't know yet. I'm Adam Watson, but again, it's fine. Really quickly, Alec Pierce. I know we talked a little bit about him probably in November and December when you were a Michael Pittman guy, and I know he's not there anymore, but you had been like, gotta tell you, Josh, so you were an early adopter. You're like, I think Pierce might be better than him.
Yeah, we did like a half-hour breakdown of Alec Pierce. Thanks for listening, by the way, on Monday's show. So, I would love people to, so I think it's a reason to subscribe. Just pay the $5 a month if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, it's fine, but like support something you like, pay the $5 a month. I probably can't give the full Alec Pierce speech that I would like to give because we did talk about it for a really long time. But I'll say, if anything, I came away from the film review, and I did. I watched so much Alec Pierce film this weekend to do that segment. If anything, I came away thinking I'm a little too low, and that he has a little upward mobility for me from this spot. I'm not sure if you're telling me the market is higher than this or lower than this.
I think it's about right in terms of the market. I think you're a little higher, but low 30s.
So, the question that we came away, Andy kind of had the same conclusion I did, which is if the role stays the same, it's probably hard to justify Alec Pierce, wide receiver 18. Because everything they tried to do with him was just difficult, required a lot of things to go right because they're mostly deep post, deep out, deep dig, the stuff that's, he doesn't get a lot of layups. But he showed the stuff that you and I talked about over the course of the season that you just referred to that makes you think Pittman no longer being there. That's so many dig routes that are gone. That's so many stop routes that are gone. And I think maybe there's a chance that Pierce inherits some of that stuff and then becomes, a more well-rounded receiver. because it seems like on film, it seems like he can do it, but you can't really prove it until he actually does. So if anything, as I get into almanac writing and I get into, the full thing, this is as low as Pierce goes as far as I'm concerned, for sure. We are sponsored by BetterHelp. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Kind of just a reminder that no matter what we're going through, we don't have to go through it alone. I always say, not everybody hearing the sound of my voice this very second immediately needs someone to talk to, but at some point we all do. I do therapy online. My frequency of talking to my therapist kind of ebbs and flows because sometimes things feel really heavy, other times not so much. And I've certainly found that having a person outside my actual life and having to say what I'm feeling and thinking out loud in a safe environment just helps me make it make sense when things don't feel great. BetterHelp is a good place where you can do that. Take a short questionnaire, get matched with a therapist who fits your needs. If you don't like your therapist match, you can always switch at no additional cost. They've got 30,000 therapists. They have nearly 2 million reviews with an average of 4.9 out of 5 stars for a live session. You don't have to be on this journey alone. Find support and have someone with you in therapy at betterhelp.com/Harris. Add the /Harris on there, you'll get 10% off. That's betterhelp.com/Harris, betterhelp.com/Harris. All right, we're back with Josh, and we're going to do some more receiver names, and then we'll also do quarterbacks here at the tail end of the show. Josh, who's next?
Yeah, I'm going to give you your 31 to Brian Thomas, I call it. It's so good when I saw this.
31 to 43, yeah.
I was going to say, well, you spoiled a little bit. It's fine. So Cardinal Tate, Parker, it's good. Parker Washington, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman at 35, Michael Wilson, which I did a double take, and then I was like, oh, yeah, he had like 1,007 last year. Jacoby Myers, Mike Evans, Mekhi Lemon, rookie, Ricky Pearsall, Marvin Harrison, Jordan Tyson, and Brian Thomas Jr. If I'd have told you, Chris, last year during the season, right when it started, there's this receiver who's going to be coming out, Jordan Tyson, and you're going to rank him ahead of Brian Thomas Jr., by the way. On this show, we'll call him Junior.
I think the reason he's down at 43 is that he just got weighted down by the weight of so many juniors that people gave him across the NFL media. Yeah, brutal. And I was an absolute buyer. I mean, I didn't have Brian Thomas on a single team because that's not how I draft generally. Like I did not suffer with the Brian Thomas people, but I certainly had him ranked. You could have wound up with him based on my ranks, and this might be too low. Obviously, you just said all 3 Jacksonville receivers. You just said Parker Washington 32, Myers 37, Thomas 43, Travis Hunter not pictured, also receiving votes. Yeah, I have to admit, I come away. I'm gonna watch more Parker Washington film, but that Jacksonville offense hummed when in December and in the playoffs, especially Parker Washington suddenly becomes the deep threat and often out of the slot. And it's actually Jacoby Myers who's playing on the kind of on the outside, playing really X, but also playing some Z also. At least where I sit right now, maybe I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah.
Where I sit right now, you give me a 6th round pick and I'm going to take a receiver and all 3 Jacksonville receivers are available. I think I go Parker Washington.
I looked at this ranking and I stopped, Chris, for a good 5 minutes, and I thought to myself, this is just one of the crazier things I've seen in the last couple of years after that rookie season. And if I would have said, Chris, this year, Trevor Lawrence is going to have the 6th most passing yards, right? He's going to throw 29 touchdowns. They're going to go 13-4. If I said, where do you think next year Brian Thomas is going to be drafted, knowing all that stuff, you'd be like, oh, yeah, 1st rounder. And here we are, 43. If I today had to pick one of them, I would take Parker Washington. I thought he looked really good at the end of the year, and maybe Brian Thomas is just not on that team. It's crazy to me, Chris. It's really crazy that we're doing this, and you're again everywhere. He's 3 on most people's list of those 3 receivers,
okay.
And he's I did a quick look, and ESPN had him 42 as well, and I was just like, whoa. Wow.
I mean, I promise you, I'm not looking at anything else.
And I know you're not.
Yeah. So Andy and I did a film Futures just now 2 months ago probably on Brian Thomas, and And so, again, if you were interested, go back and you can listen to that show. And we came to conclusion of like, you could just see him losing confidence and them absolutely losing confidence in him. And it didn't really, I mean, we know there were injuries, and after the high ankle sprain, it's probably not even fair to judge him because who knows what he was like coming back, and maybe it's always out of necessity. But man, the film is rough. It is not just numbers. It was tough to watch. It was tough to watch them force him the ball, and then it was even tougher to watch them start to not force him the ball, to make him a sidecar. This dude who was, a first-round NFL draft pick, a second-round fantasy pick, coming off a great rookie year. I guess, the lesson is the people who said it was all Mac Jones were right. Probably not.
I just... what percent, and then we can move on.
Sure.
Do we look back on this and we go, all right, we overreacted to a second season. He was dinged up, and it was, and he pops this year. And I'm not saying back to a top 10 receiver, but he ends with, wide receiver 14, and he does 1,109 or something like that.
What percent? I'd say like a third. I'd say like a 33%.
I was going to say 30.
Chance.
Yeah. Okay.
He probably has as much upside as anybody you'd think about. He has more upside than Jordan Tyson.
Yeah.
He's got, he's got more upside than probably either of the Cardinal receivers. Like, there's upside there. There's also downside for him to be out of the league, metaphorically. Probably not literally, but, to be exiled and to do the Tank Bigsby thing in some town that doesn't know how to use him yet or whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy. As long as you're drafting him not to be a fantasy starter, I just wanted to be sure not to rank him as a fantasy starter. If he's on your bench for a few weeks to just find out if it's a complete do-over, that's just fine.
While we're talking about that wide receiver class, again, and I know you're grinning the same way I am, Marvin Harrison, 41, which, you're lower than people, but he's kind of around that 30 to, the early 30s there. But again, 2 years ago as a rookie, was he going wide receiver, number overall 15 overall? Right? And then last year, third round, here we are. I will say, I'd still probably have him ahead of Michael Wilson, but it would probably be one of those where kind of like Burden and Adunze, where I kind of might have them next to each other, but I probably prefer Harrison. Same kind of offense, right? Jacoby Brissett will be there. He was another
for
one
a while.
Where,
for a while. I mean, who knows? Seems like the quarterback probably gets rotated around. If I'm going to die on the hill of Michael Wilson and go, it's because he showed such great chemistry with Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, that's great for weeks 1 through 5. But then when they're 0-5, they'll probably play Carson Beck or somebody.
It's just wild to me that we're sitting here talking about Marvin Harrison and Brian Thomas, where they're at right now from 2 years ago.
It's wilder to me that Brian Thomas is there because Marvin Harrison's never done it. Brian Thomas has done it. Brian Thomas had one great year, and it legitimately looked really good. That was a 1,310 year. That was not those lesser years that you were talking about. My justification for now of having Wilson over Marvin Harrison is cool. Like, I just saw Michael Wilson become the focal point of a bad offense to a degree that was that not available to Marvin Harrison. And I know Harrison himself had the appendix, right? And he had a couple other things too. But I'm going to err on the side of, I saw him be a really good player. I'm still waiting for Marvin Harrison to be a really good player. Marvin Harrison is like, 20 years ago, we used to talk about the third year breakout for wide receivers. Yeah, this is it. He's right on schedule for it. Unfortunately, that's not the league anymore.
Yeah. Again, I look at this and I'm just baffled. The Pittsburgh guys, DK, Pittman, 33, 35. If we know definitively that Mason Rudolph is starting week 1, I assume those guys.
I almost think that's that's not good. That would be bad. I almost think it's likelier to be one of the Howard isn't a rookie, but like either Allard or Howard, than it is to be if it's Mason Rudolph. good Lord, that would be bad. I mean, it's bad with Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be Aaron Rodgers. We all know it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I just saw what DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers looks like, and it's not DK Metcalf's fault. In some ways, Pittman almost feels like I think in PPR, don't I have him flipped? Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I was going to say I probably prefer Pittman in PPR if you do that game, because
he's the ultimate 3rd and 14 throw it 8 yards guy. That's the Aaron Rodgers routine now. Isn't it sad? It's just, I mean, granted, the man's mind got filled with mush, but just to watch the level of competitiveness as a thrower, to the guy who would try anything in his career in Green Bay, to the guy who's just most weeks a rough watch, conservative, like just checking everything down. It's not very fun to watch.
Yeah. Last guy in this section, I'll just spot pick a few people. Ricky Pearsall, I know you and I are fans of his. Again, had some health stuff, and I feel like was never really, after he fell that one time in that diving catch, never really got like his lower body in a good place. It was like back out 3 weeks, came back, dinged again, and it was just, I don't know. I know Mike Evans ends up there, and you got Christian Kirk, and it's Kittle. I still like him as a player. I wouldn't mind taking him at this point again. Wide receiver 40. Yep. I think I still have.
We're drafting guys. We're drafting guys not to be starters, but to be interesting. I felt bad putting Evans 2 spots ahead of Pearsall, and then in PPR it's the other way around. I have Pearsall 2 spots ahead of Evans. There are going to be other players there to make it all miserable for everybody. McCaffrey's going to have a lot of catches if he's healthy. I made money. I've been right on Evans every year of his career, basically. I was higher than market on him every year till last year. I was way lower, and I don't know what I am this year, but probably in the red zone, we're going to be really annoyed if we have anybody but Mike Evans. Probably there's a point to be made there that Evans needs to score a bunch of touchdowns, but I'm cool kind of letting somebody else own Mike Evans.
All right, some ones that popped to me. I was kind of hoping. I know you're a big Romeo Doubs fan. Then you get your footy pajamas. He lands in New England. Like, this to me feels week 1. He has one of these, 4 for 80 and a TD, and everyone's spending a ton of money on him. Feels like there's a bunch of good receivers there. No one's special.
Well, AJ Brown's going to be there. I'm ranking.
You think you're just basically waiting for AJ to end up there?
If Brown doesn't end up there, and this is the receiving core, you're right. Romeo Doubs goes higher than 52.
Fair. Jaden Reed, didn't he just get an absurd contract? That was in my sleep. That happened. I'm pretty sure. I know.
Go ahead.
No, again, I look at that. I was just curious your take, because sometimes we see some of these guys who, have a really good year 3-4 years later. I remember Lockett did that back in the day, and all of a sudden there's something there. Any feeling on him, or it's just been small sample size of really good games?
It's been a really small sample size of really good games. And that would be probably my problem. What I was gonna say about the contract, I wanted to say, first of all, we never let contract be the reason we're drafting somebody. That's not a smart reason ever. Because they're committed to him. No, they're not. The money's fake. It's play. They're billionaires. It's play money. They're not evaluated on that basis. So no, that's not true. And then the other part is it's not even that huge of a contract. It's $20 million guaranteed. It's not that much of it. It's a lot to you and me.
For 50. Yep.
Right. I think Romeo Doubs got paid more. Last year he was hurt the whole year. He couldn't get on the field when he was right. But, you're alone on this show between you and me as ever thinking that Jaden Reed was awesome. It seems to me he still carries 4 years in. He still carries some weird imprimatur of the people who loved his Spark score coming out in college. What a sleeper because of his Spark score. I don't think he's ever been that good. He had his rookie year. He scored some touchdowns because they kept handing it to him. He was gadgety, but I feel like I'm way past the point where I'm gonna get really jazzed about starting fantasy receivers whose primary allure is that they're the gadget guy. I'm just not interested in that.
I'll just apologize for everyone who, or I should say, feel sad for anyone who took Travis Hunter in dynasty leagues.
Ooh,
I know
baby.
that he's hanging around at number 73 on your board, and it's pretty much where he's hanging around on most people's boards. So didn't work out amazing.
Yeah, I think probably people are overreacting to some random thing that somebody interpreted it as James Gladstone saying that Travis Hunter was never going to play offense ever again, and now the Jags are like bending over backwards to say, what are you talking about? He's definitely going to play offense. But, like, okay, you trade Brian Thomas, I get more interested in believing that you have a plan for Travis Hunter. But I think I go back to the original evaluation of him as a prospect, where everybody said, as a receiver, he's okay, and as a corner, he's freaking awesome. And if you're a contending team, which Jacksonville certainly wants to be, you need the freaking awesome out there. So did anybody ever want Deion Sanders in fantasy? He was an offensive player sometimes, and he scored exciting touchdowns sometimes, but there just wasn't enough consistently there because it's not possible to reinvent football and play full-time both ways the way they were nonsensically saying last year. So, yeah, for now, we're not drafting Travis Hunter, I don't think.
How would
Should
you
we talk
feel
quarterback?
about? I was about to say, how would you feel about talking quarterbacks, Chris?
I would feel so great about it. We're like an hour into the show. It's fine. It doesn't. This is the last show on the ad-supported side for till July, so we should go long. It's fine.
We'll do some comedy involved in this. All right, so I know I prefaced it before, but this is also just me self-promoting myself. I won my league last year, taking Brock Purdy and just picking up Sam Darnold and flipping back and forth between those guys. So I will preface that as we get into quarterbacks for 1 QB leagues. I wouldn't reach for any of these players. I think it's a luxury, similar to tight ends. In a super flex, very, very different. But your tier one everywhere, 1, 2 is going to be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. And I think Josh Allen is your one, is the right call. If someone wanted to take him starting in the middle of the third, I get it. Would I probably be leaning towards running back there or receiver? Yeah. Again, I would listen to it. I'm not doing it either.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. And honestly, Lamar at 2 is no show. I mean, Lamar last year, ask people how that went.
Wasn't fun.
In December. Oh my God, it was horrible. Like there's a chance that's wrong, but like you and I don't have that problem. Let me ask you this. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go through the more names, and then I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to your 2 through 7. Your 3 through 7. Joe Burrow, Drake May, Matt Stafford. You are high on him. Flag player coming. Jaden Daniels and 7 Caleb Williams. You were gonna ask me a question. Go for it.
Just to give the Superflex listeners, who Superflex is great. It makes quarterback matter. How many quarterbacks would you consider in the first round of a Superflex draft?
Maybe just Allen? Is that crazy?
Come on, no. Yeah, that's crazy.
Multiple?
No. Oh, yeah.
I haven't done Superflex in 3 years.
It's too important. I mean, I think for me, since they're my first 4, I think Allen, Lamar, Burrow are definite.
And May?
And then I think May is arguable. But I actually do think from there, probably I wouldn't do it. And I understand that can kind of put your QB2 starts to get, like your QB1 is never going to be a problem. Because if you don't do a quarterback in the first round, you're certainly going to do one second or third. You have to. So you're going to wind up with someone, it might not be top 12, but it'll be fine. If Purdy is your QB1, you'll survive. The problem will be QB2. And waiting on a quarterback in Superflex is hard. It's a game of chicken. You're now hoping Malik Willis turns into something. You're hoping Bryce Young is reliable week to week. And they absolutely can be. Sam Darnold was taken in that neighborhood last year. It can absolutely work. I certainly don't think I go beyond 4. I'm not even sure that May definitely needs to be in the first round of a Superflex, but the first 3 guys I think absolutely do.
Yeah, I will say this. More people have May as the 3. I mean, he's kind of consensus over Burrow there. I'm with you. Yeah.
I have a hard time putting May ahead of Stafford. May's done it once, and it was an easy-ass schedule, and that's going to be – he's going to have a giant target on his back now. There's no sneaking up on people, and he's still not a very smart faller downer. You know, he's an injury waiting to happen, and so of course Burrow is too. Maybe that's why people are saying May over Burrow, but I just trust Burrow so much.
Yeah, Burrow would be my 3 as well. Again, different. I think it was Daniels' rookie year, but I watched what we did with Daniels, and I think about that with May. I think the rushing he'll get there again, but like man, 4,300 and 31.8. I don't know. It seems high. I feel comfortable with Burrow. Again, you and I are probably not getting any of these people in our leagues.
Not in a single quarterback.
Yeah, not in a single quarterback league. Yep. Let's talk Stafford, because when I tell you where people have him, you're gonna go, yeah, okay, I guess he's a flag player of mine. So I took a quick look. You have Stafford as your number 5. I have not seen him in the top 10 anywhere. How about that? I saw him 12, 15, and
why
16.
I can't even understand it.
I know. Again, he will be a flag player of yours because he is still listed. You know, I would listen to Daniels. I'd listen to Caleb. I'd listen to. I don't know how you get past 8 or 9 and not have Stafford there. I'm telling you, I've looked at 3 major services and Fantasy Pros, and he has listed outside the top 12. That's coming off a 4,700 yards and 46 TDs.
Yeah, I mean, we have a history on this show of like saying, why are Aaron Rodgers was just MVP? Why are people ranking him so low? And Tom Brady before that, you know, we had Brady as again and again and again in all, you know, in our picks and stuff, because people, maybe it's just one of those, it can't last. I will grant you that 46 touchdowns is just that screams regression. You can have an awesome year and have easily 10 fewer touchdowns. But, you know, it's a hard offense not to, if everything's working right, we're not getting blinded by situation, but we recognize that there are a few that we trust. I mean, don't you trust the Rams?
Well, that's exactly what I wrote down. I wrote a bullet and I said, every week he's upright and Puka and Adams are playing, he's going to be ranked 6 to 7 on everyone's list at the worst. Like, you go, oh, cool. It's home
then in
Falcons.
October, right. And then in October, once he's been awesome, he's going to be 1 or 2. Yeah, that's weird to me. Yeah, I guess the market doesn't like old quarterbacks, non-running quarterbacks. It's funny though that like I have to imagine we're not going to do the Anthony Richardson at 5 again. We're not going to do, I put Jaden Daniels at 6, and it didn't feel great, but I said to myself, I thought he was a good passer when he set everything on fire. I thought he was actually pretty good, and we know he throws a really nice deep ball, and I can't come up with an argument for anybody below him. I couldn't. Again, I'm not, you tell me, is Daniels, am I too high on him too compared to the market?
No, he's 5 or 6 everywhere. I'd have him there too. I think he's good. I think people are forgiving that last year, and they're saying, look, throw out last season, he was dinged, and we think what we saw in that rookie year is right.
Right.
I think you're there. I'll say you and I might even be higher, like on Caleb. I know he's 7. I don't know how much more higher you can get, but I think that's right. He's kind of 10 or 11 other places, and I don't know. I think
I have to be higher on Caleb Williams than oh boy. Like, we got to lower him 3 spots. No, I'm just kidding. As a thrower, he just has a long way to go. Long way.
Cannon arm though.
Yeah, great ability. A sneaky good runner, often runs to throw. That doesn't run to run necessarily, but you go. The problem is you just go, all these guys are kind of the same. I guess I could like Dak Prescott more than him, but I just feel like I know with Dak, the ride is awful. It always winds up being a 4,000-yard season. Wow, you got to 4,028 touchdowns. Cool. How'd you finish in your fantasy playoffs? Oh, no, I didn't make my fantasy playoffs. Because he's just going to slaughter you a few times, and it's not – he gets in his own head, and I don't know. Herbert, like last year, was real bad. Yeah. This is such a binary conversation, quarterback in a single quarterback league. It's such a binary conversation. It just becomes about, okay, of the guys that nobody is recommending you draft, who do you have rated the highest? That's who you're getting in the 10th round.
Yeah. I'm going to give you your 8 through Jackson darts so we can have the conversation. I know we mentioned at the beginning. Justin
Another
Herbert.
guy, by the way, that Andy and I did a film features on, Jaxon Dart.
All right, 8 through 16. Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. You're always going to be a little lower in the market on Hurts. We know that. That's a Chris Harris staple. Dak
It serves me
Prescott.
pretty well, you have to admit.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, 10. Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, Jackson Dart. We'll talk about some of the other names in a few, but if I were to tell you Jackson Dart is listed anywhere from 7, 8 to 9, and I have not seen him outside the top 10, would you be floored? Again, a cool haircut and living in New York, man, it goes a long way.
Does he have Sweeney? Has he gotten Sweeney yet?
He doesn't have Sweeney yet. I'm still waiting, apparently, and Adam claims that he'll have Sweeney at some point. I said not a chance. I think there's a better chance he's not in the NFL than getting Sidney Sweeney, but we'll see.
So I was gratified that when we did the film review of Jaxon Dart, Andy fell a little less in love because the film is not very kind to him. The numbers are pretty kind, and the running is, real. And I guess that's my answer. If people are going to value Jaxon Dart as the QB7 or whatever, then the era of overvaluing quarterbacks for their presumed rushing excellence is not over. But I think it's getting there. It's really interesting to me though that people would their counter. There's the karate movie bad guys, surf movie bad guy, the Evil Dojo owner, Bo Nix and Jaxon Dart. If you were going to take the cheese on Dart, wouldn't you take it on Nix first? Like, Nix runs, not as much as Dart, but like Dart can't run as much. He's going to get killed. Like, you won't be able to rely on him. He's got to take care of himself better. And Nix seems like the version of, is like, Nix is Dart, but like, just more like a little more stable.
Yeah, Finkel is Einhorn, Nix is Dart. It's funny, but that's exactly how I felt. Then I look around now, and everyone's back at 16 to 18 with Nix. Look, here's my feeling, and I live in New York. I watch a lot of the Giants games, and I shut them off obviously in the third and the fourth quarter, just like the Jets games. I think he's an excellent runner, right? I don't know if he's a good passer yet, and that's what I say to people. I'm just like, it's unclear to me, and I don't know when something is unclear, and I haven't seen them throw a football well yet, and enough of that, right? You can't throw 2,200 yards, 15 TDs, and I go, you know what? This is great. You're now my number 8 quarterback because there's some sort of correlation now because Jim Hardballs is there, and everyone goes, dude, you see what he did with Lamar running? I don't know if there's this. It's just crazy to me that he's now 8, 9, like I can't pick him there. 12, 13, 14, like I could start to hear you.
Also so on the one hand, I will say, I don't think I would ever be like super mad at anybody taking anybody as the QB7. Because that's just not, depending on your league, if in your league the QB7 goes in the 5th round, good God, don't take the QB7, clearly. But if it's in the 8th round or whatever, or the 7th round or something, it's okay. Take the chance. There's a 27.8% chance that we're underrating his throwing ability and the rushing isn't going anywhere, and he'll be QB4, and we blew it. There is some percent chance, and the opportunity cost, because there are always waiver wire quarterbacks you can pick up, and you'll be fine. If it's a disaster, you'll find someone else. So I'll say that on the one hand, the upside shot on Jaxon Dart, I guess I theoretically understand it. I'm not too mad at that rank of him really high. But how high is the upside really? Because he didn't really run for a lot of yards. He ran for touchdowns.
9 touchdowns, yep.
And they were all short. They were all like him getting his brains beaten in from the 7-yard line. Like Aunt Nora watching those games would be like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a good idea. They have to get that out of him. He got concussed like 16 times. Like, he has to not do that. Let Scatterbo do it, and then he'll get concussed. But I could be wrong. And there's a 10 touchdown rushing season coming. And boy, he didn't get to play with Nabers. And so that's going to be so much better. And yada, it isn't what I'm doing.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying I don't like him. Like, he could even end up on my team if someone, again, I live in New York, so it's not happening. Someone will pick him 7 or 8, but yeah, I would take Herbert over him. I would take Prescott over him. I would take Lawrence, and just I've seen it for a couple of years, and I just feel more comfortable. I don't want to be playing with the waiver wire too much for my starting quarterback. Come week 3, week 4, like you said, he gets concussed.
Right. You'd
Him
rather
and-
not do that. Yeah,
yeah.
you're taking a chance to put him QB7 that you have to do it sooner than anybody would like. But it is more overcomable than some maybe like not tight end, but the other the other two positions. I just Andy and I have like an informal running gag of how long he's in the league. Like, I don't know that he's good. I think he's maybe being propped up a little bit by the New York thing and by we're just desperate.
I'm indifferent from now. I don't have a full stance. I'm just like, okay, I guess he's got pizzazz for a New Yorker, right? But like, I just want to see him. This year will be huge because I want to see him having to throw the football. Again, it's cool and people are loving him for fantasy because he's running around doing cool stuff.
Taking
and being
headshots.
supermodels. Yeah, and taking headshots and going, they're like, this guy, man, like, he'll die for his team. Okay, cool. Like in 2028, is he doing Dancing with the Stars? I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's
Just so many. There's so many guys. Quarterback
There
is
is.
just so easy in a single quarterback league because
It is.
You're telling me like Jordan Love might not get drafted, and there's easily a 4,000-yard season with 30 touchdowns sitting out there for him. There's just not that much of a difference among the quarterbacks.
It is, and I was gonna say, like, you have 17 Love, 18 Stroud. Like, is it very feasible after 3-4 weeks that those guys are being ranked number 9 and 10? Like, they come out and they're just Jordan Love.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
So
Absolutely.
this is to say that, look, if you're getting incredible value at quarterback and, something falls, someone falls, sure, I get it. But I will not be the person picking, Drake May in the 3rd or the 4th round. Again, 2-quarterback league, very different. And I think even if you don't get one of those 7 guys, like, I'm fine starting the season if, with Love and, Mayfield. I mean, look what Daniel Jones did to start last year as a waiver guy. Like, you could have gotten by with him for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
The only person I just wanted to ask you on really quickly, Chris.
Sure.
We saw Baker do it a few years ago, right? Ended up as like QB 6 or 7.
How'd that
Kyler
go?
Murray. No, I
that go?
know.
Oh, is that not
I'm
who you
just
want to talk about?
I was gonna say Kyler Murray this year.
Okay.
And you're right where everyone is. It's kind of in like that low 20s if he gets that job. Do you think that could be someone if you had to pick someone from 20 to 30? Again, and don't just say, well, he's my 20s. That's my answer. But if there's someone to finish as a QB1,
What am I supposed to say?
supposed to say Darnold, dude. I love him, man. You see what
No, Darnold is not the one.
is it Tyler Shook? And you're sitting here going, okay, sorry.
No. It's probably Kyler because he has the quarterback whisperer and he has the cheat code. So, it's Kyler, but we're not drafting these guys in a single quarterback league. We're watching from afar.
Fair.
I can't find a name that I love there, but I also can't in a superflex. I'm gonna probably, unless I'm picking in the first half, if I'm picking the second half of the first round, and it goes the way it normally would in a superflex, I'm gonna have Darnold, Young, Shuck, somebody like that as my QB2. It's not gonna feel great, but it's certainly workable because that's what the NFL is now. It's very, very flat passing wise. It's very, very democratic. Very spread out. Did we get to everybody you wanted to get to?
Yeah, I got no one else. I mean, I'll save the trashing for people for the summertime when I really start to.
Of course. We
Go
have so
hard
much
as
time to
guys.
talk about these guys. I mean, I'm gonna try not to. I'm trying to be as undogmatic as I can because I'm about to write almanac blurbs for all of these players, and for the younger ones, I'm gonna watch a bunch of film. Sorry, I'm not watching a lot of Matthew Stafford film. Sorry, you kind of know what he is, but I reserve the right to be wowed and change my mind and change ranks, and of course, we'll keep them updated at harrisfootball.com. You're off the hook now for the summer. You've got a summer off from the show. And,
Thanks, boss.
And now, of course, I probably will be having phone conversations with you in which we get pithy statements about players for the almanac. because you like doing that.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure I'm going to be texting you about the amazing Eastern Conference NBA if you do decide to watch maybe the Eastern Conference Finals. But other than that, it's been real. Looking forward to chatting with you, and we'll do it again soon.
Thank you so much for listening. We text a lot about the NBA. That's where that comes from. He loves the NBA. I like it sometimes. But thanks to Josh for doing it. Thank you so much for listening. And let me thank the 3 sponsors that made this supersized episode possible. Really, without the sponsors, I can't do the show. So I appreciate them so much. A newer sponsor, I think it's only the second spot I've done for them, is called Fume. It's Tryfume, TRYFUM.com. If you're a vapor and you maybe just looking for an alternative, or maybe you'd like to taper off a little bit, really recommend Fume. I've tasted it. It tastes great. Like I said, our buddy Frank really digs it, and it's been nice on his journey to try to stop. So Tryfume, that would be great because we'd love to have them come back. We also had Lisa. So many of you folks out there have taken advantage of the offers at lisa.com. That's why they keep coming back. I appreciate it. And also, of course, BetterHelp, also been with us a really long time. You can find information about today's sponsors in today's show notes, along with the ranks that we discussed. All the current sponsors are at harrisfootball.com. If you have the means and you have a need, picking a sponsor, using a code, you've done such a wonderful job over this decade plus. That's how the whole thing keeps going. I appreciate you so much for that. I'm vamping because I'm sad that I won't be doing the free side show here for like 7 weeks or so. So I'm just like kind of rambling a little bit. But of course, we'll be on Mondays. We'll still have the Yacht Club show for subscribers. We're going to do lots more film futures. We'll do some ranks talk. We're also going to do other stuff this summer because you can't burn out on talking about the Tampa third receiver spot too early. You know, there's plenty of time to do that once we get to July and August. So, like, we're doing the Yacht Club book club. We're having an episode we're going to talk about a book that we all read together. I'm lining up a couple of other non-football guests, and then we'll also do lots of football talk with Andy on Mondays as well. So we'd love to have you there if you're able. Remember that if you'd like to help me figure out this book tour and or just meetups in your city, write me, heyharris@harrisfootball.com. A reminder that if you're in LA, and I'd say the qualifier is if you have a glove and you have your own cleats, that probably means you're good enough. We're not looking for like superstars, just someone who's, can do it. Email me, Tuesday nights in Burbank. We'd love to have you on the team. Hit me up there as well. And go get the Almanac pre-ordered if you'd like. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on because I know eventually a lot of you will get it, and I appreciate that so much. But if you'd like to get it out of the way now, you can do it also at harrisfootball.com. And that is going to do it on the Yacht Club on Monday. I'm actually not going to be on the show, although I'm really looking forward to listening. Andy is going to have a WNBA season preview because women's basketball is one of his favorite things in the world, and we want to bring our passions to that show. So that's going to be cool. Really looking forward to listening to that. And, of course, I'll be back on the Yacht Club a week from Monday. And otherwise, all the rest of you here on the ad-supported side, I'll be back with you early in July. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I'm going to go write Almanac profiles. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.